We are in studio at Eventcast here in Centurion. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure if you heard the first beginning of our pod, but we are now live. Welcome to the Saving the Class of 2020 webinar. My name is Nkosinathi Mshwana. I am a director of the Youth Start Foundation. Together with me in studio is Mr. Martin Sweet, as you all know, the MD of Prime Stars. We're here in Centurion, Johannesburg, at the Eventcast studios. Eventcast has been an incredible supporter and sponsor of this event. Of course, alongside the Mail and Guardian, we want to thank you all for joining us in this drive to save the class of 2020. My job this afternoon in the next hour is to moderate the discussion. We've got some fantastic panelists with us, and I want to make sure that we have a discussion and we engage back and forth. Now, on social media, we'd love to have the discussion be extended there. Please do join us on Twitter. The hashtag is Saving the Class of 2020. And we want to ensure that the message trends. Please tweet, talk to us. And of course, for those of you that are on the Webinar Jam platform, you will see that there is a chat option. Please continue to send some opinions, some comments, some well wishes. We look forward to hearing from you. And those that do have questions for the panelists, do send some messages in the Q&A. Now we've got, as I mentioned, some awesome panelists. I want to acknowledge all our women on the panel, as well as at home, and wish you all a very, very happy Women's Month. Now, why are we here today? We're here about the Saving the Class of 2020 campaign. And really, it's about, the fact that nearly 800,000 matric learners were out of school for over 2 months due to the COVID pandemic and the lockdown since March this year. And since reopening schools at the beginning of June, matric learners have been struggling. Youth Start Foundation and Prime Stars have began this national call for saving the class of 2020. And today we are talking about how you at home, whether you're corporate, whether you're in government, or whether you're in civil society and want to support someone who's under-resourced, can participate in saving the class of 2020. Throughout the course of our webinar, we'll hear from different stakeholders around why they're behind this campaign and what we need to achieve in making that possible. It is the day after International Youth Day, so it's quite fitting for us to be here. We are also going to be talking to the Minister of Basic Education a little bit later on. But to begin with, so I make sure that everyone understands, we've got a big target today, and our target is to raise some funds to bring in 40 more schools. We've got a target of 2 million Rand funding, which is a gap we want to close with you to ensure that more schools participate. And to begin this discussion, I actually would love to bring the MD of Prime Stars, the founder and the brains behind edutainment and theaters of learning, Mr. Martin Sweet. Martin, good afternoon, how are you?
Good afternoon, Nkosi. Let me echo your good wishes to the women of South Africa, and let me wish all women who are listening and all women in South Africa a fabulous Women's Month. You all deserve it. You deserve the best. Thank you for your contributions and your help that you assisted Prime Stars with throughout time.
Absolutely. So now let's get right into it, Martin. Do you think schools should reopen?
Well, before I tell you why I think schools should reopen, let me just mention that Prime Stars has always had a strong focus on young girls. 16 years ago, we launched a program called Take Your Girl Child to Work Day with Cell C. I programmed to them, and they've done a phenomenal job. They've shown young girls that they can break through the glass ceiling, they can become doctors, lawyers, and one day, hopefully soon, even the president. But we also owned by a women's development business. So we are proudly Black women owned, and we hope to achieve a focus. Colleen Larson, the chief executive of Business Engage, who runs the 31st Club, we've promised her that at least 50% of all our learners will be young girls. And now let me answer your question. Do I think schools should reopen? Children have been falling behind in their studies since the abrupt closure. Those in poor and minority communities, the same ones disproportionately ravaged by the virus, have been the hardest hit. And there's evidence that children's risk of acquiring COVID-19 is lower than adults. The risk should be weighed against the harm children suffer when they miss out on the educational, social, and emotional experiences schools provide. By reopening the economy while keeping schools closed, many parents and other caregivers have to leave their children at home unattended. It's also worth mentioning that low-income children rely on public schools for food and social services. Now, we all know that learning is social, and not being in school contributes to child abuse, anxiety, depression, and levels of substance abuse. Public schools have very few devices or tablets, and costs of data have not yet been zero rate. So connectivity or access is almost non-existent. Furthermore, online teacher training needs to be accelerated to help the transition to distance learning. So if you're asking me, I'm not a doctor, but pediatricians, I've got an article here, have called for schools to reopen. I really believe that schools should reopen. The British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has stated that it's morally indefensible to stop schools from reopening safely. I agree, provided there's proper planning, social distancing, and sufficient PPE for every teacher and child.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you. And I just want to say hello to everyone who's been sending some messages in the chat. Thank you for starting us off well. Hello to Bongi. Hello to Nolan. Hello to Noneba, Yolanda. Hi to Winnie, Ashley, and everyone else who's joining us. Please bring the comments through. Happy to have you with us. Martin, thank you for starting us off with that passionate framing of where we need to be. Obviously, COVID has been challenging, but you're absolutely right in explaining the kind of challenges learners are facing in not being in school and not being able to attend school. For those at home who've seen Prime Stars, who've seen the ads, who've seen the Theatres of Learning model, who've seen the impact on the ground, but maybe don't know much about Prime Stars, I'd like you just to share with everyone at home who's watching, who is Prime Stars, what is the agenda, and of course tell us how we aim to save the class of 2020 this year.
Well, firstly, Prime Stars is a private-public sector partnership. We've worked with government who provide us access to schools, and we've managed to get to hundreds of schools. We call our program Theatres of Learning, and we perceived by the public to be the private tutor to public education. We majority Black women owned, and last year we touched the lives of 90,000 learners. We run 4 programs, maths and science, financial literacy, career guidance, and entrepreneurship. Our maths and science program has won numerous awards. Last year, we won the AmCham Stars of Africa Award, and we're very proud of that. We perceived to be the best maths and science program taught in South Africa. And we're passionate about ensuring that young people, particularly the matrics, pass the exam at the end of the year. We've had some phenomenal results. We moved schools up by a minimum of 10%, in some cases 16 to 23% up. So we're very happy with the results. We have great teachers. One of our teachers, Jacques Duplessis, has been at Wits. He's been teaching at King David's. So he's very impactful, and the marks prove the impact of the program. The 4 programs we run, career guidance, 14 different movies covering 120 different careers, showing young people what are their possibilities and opportunities once they leave school. Our maths and science program focuses on the whole of the curriculum. Our career guidance program, as I've said, covers all those careers that show young people what the possibilities are. And the program I like most is the entrepreneurship program, which has been running now for 5 years. It focuses on teaching young people that they don't have to look for a job, but they can create jobs for other learners. And The essence of the program is the lean startup methodology, where young people go into their communities, find a problem, come up with a solution, test it, get customer verification or validation for it. In other words, orders for their service or their product, and then we teach them to scale. Last year, our program created 700 little companies in school. And we had a phenomenal end of the year awards function where teams from all over the country, every province, were brought to Gauteng, and we raised sufficient funds and bursaries as well as incubators and accelerators that could look after them. So we're very proud, of course, of our entrepreneurship program. It's a landmark program, and we're now interacting with not only the Minister Lindiwe Zulu, who used to be the Minister of Small Business, but now we're starting to work with the Department of Basic Education, who are looking at making entrepreneurship part of their curriculum.
Now, Martin, I know the back of our programs, or the basis of these programs, are public-private partnerships. In fact, on the line with us, joining us as a panelist, is Nozizwe Vundla, who is the head of the Sanlam Foundation, and of course, representing the Education Department is the Honorable Minister of Basic Education, Me'enje Motshekga. And one of our most important stakeholders, of course, are the schools. And we've got Mr. Richard Buthelezi from Tisana Technical High in Richards Bay, and he is the HOD in Math and Science. And I'd like to bring in Nozizwe and the Minister shortly. But maybe, Martin, in terms of the importance of public-private partnerships, before I jump into these stakeholders, what is the importance of public-private partnerships in taking education forward into the new world? And for partners like Sanlam, who've decided to spearhead this kind of program, what is in it for them?
Well, I think most sponsors would like to improve the lives of young people. And they want to ensure that projects that they support have the impact that they're looking for amongst the young learners. There's a secondary consideration, and that is BE accreditation, socioeconomic development points, 1% of net profits after tax, enterprise development points, and in some cases, sponsors look for make a donation, they look for a deduction, a tax deduction. So sponsors look for impact, they look for BE accreditation, and some sponsors want recognition. And of course, sponsors try to get them. But before I conclude, what's the agenda of Prime Stars? We need the slide, guys. What's the agenda of Prime Stars? And I think it's the agenda of I think it's the agenda of sponsors as well.
And investing in young women.
Well, the foundation of much current education assumes a scarcity of knowledge. The role of the teacher is to impart facts and test students on their retention of them. The internet, as you know, has transformed the world from having a scarcity to an abundance of knowledge. And this transformation requires a major change in how and what we learn. There's a shift in the education system from the idea of students who acquire knowledge to the notion of learners who acquire skills and the ability to apply them. We have moved from memorization, standardization, and conformity to encouraging critical thinking, problem solving, experimentation, collaboration, and lifelong learning. Communicating, teamwork, and interpersonal skills will also be very valuable for future success and income prospects. Now, our agenda focuses on the shift in the education system and the skills required to flourish in a changing world. So when sponsors support programs like us, I think all of them are looking for talent, and they want young people to be prepared when they come into the workplace.
Absolutely. Thanks, Martin. I'm reading some very good comments coming in around the topic, the importance of saving the class of 2020. And of course, we've got some different opinions on how we think we can achieve that. And I'm seeing some good conversation from McLean talking about the possibility of stretching the timelines. I think this would be a good time for us to bring in Mayor Minister Njimuchecha of Basic Education. Minister, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good afternoon, Minister. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you for your time. I think for us, it's really been the basis of a public-private partnership that these programs have worked, and the work of your department behind these programs has been pivotal. We've got, of course, questions coming in on the rest of the year. What is the status of the year? Just a couple of days ago, we saw the new exam timetable coming out. Can you give us an update on the plans for the rest of the year? And of course, the department's support of saving the class of 2020.
No, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity, and more important, for the partnership that we've been enjoying with yourselves. As you are aware that we currently only have grade 12s and 7s in schools. Grade 7s came back on Tuesday. On the 24th, we'll start phasing in all the grades, but we're going to give them 3 days in between so that we're able to orientate and induct them in the new norm. So schools that, because they're not supposed to be more than 50 at a given time. So schools are going to choose which grades they're going to start on the 24th, but the last date for phasing in every other child should be in the first week of September. So from the 24th, schools will phase in the grades which were supposed to have already come in, induct and orientate them for 3 days, then get the next phase. But what is going to happen mostly, except for grade 12s, all the other phases now are going to either platoon or rotate. In rotation, it means they will come, in some provinces, they say they'll come for a week, then they give them a week for projects and homework, and then they come back to look at the projects and the homework that they have done. In other instances, they're going to rotate in days, so it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Monday, they come for teaching, Tuesday, it's projects and independent reading, studying, and then Wednesday, so in that manner. But in some other provinces, like urbanized provinces, where it's much more easier for children to walk to school, they're going to platoon to have the morning session and the afternoon session. Because the main problem is that whilst the coronavirus is still with us, we're unable to have all the learners at the same time in schools, so that we're able to safe distance them. So we'll be rotating them so that we create space in between and have them at different times, and even change our pedagogy, because we can't teach the same, because we're no longer able to have them the same way we had them in the past. But in terms of really our partnership with Prime Star, I already wanted to, on behalf of the sector, thank the management of Prime Star for the invitation to participate and represent the public sector in this very important webinar. It is important for us to look back, I think, as Mark Sweet was doing, to say we've traveled a very long way. It was like yesterday, but if I recall, it's as early as 2010, which tells how long I've been in the ministry. And since then, I know for a fact from the department to say the program has reached more than 300,000 learners. Since we started off with Prime Star, they've been able to participate or to engage more than 1,000 schools in the country. And amongst other programs that they had, it was a career guidance, which Mark spoke about, financial literacy, leadership and entrepreneurship program. But I know Mark loves the entrepreneurship, and I'm in love with the mathematics and science program. And they've been assisting with all those programs. And indeed, as Mark is saying, these programs have been able to shape the destiny of our learners. It's not a small feat that Prime Star has really been able to expand its program about the Educate program. Today, they have made efforts, really, we can celebrate that in the past 10 years, the program has really reached as many children as possible. And I really want to inform this August gathering that the National Development Plan and Vision 2030 expects us to produce at least 450,000 learners who are highly competent in maths and science. And currently, as DBE, we're doing all we can, but without partners outside government, like the program that we have with Prime Star, will not be able to achieve that. So it is for us a very critical partnership and highly important for us to be able to reach the targets of 2030 of the NDP. And it's through these partnerships that we can see our way forward, because on our own as government, we'll not be able to achieve that. So as we pause to really notice the strides that Prime Star has done, we really want to encourage the support that they're getting, because that support is support that they give us in return as government. And we're still now, as when I started off, I spoke about the challenges that COVID-19 has presented to us. It's a huge challenge, and I'm very excited and humbled by the support that we have to save the class of 2030. We're not only saving the class of 2020, we're saving a whole generation. Because, and I always make this example, Mark, to say, if we don't save 2020, we're saying we are going to have a generation that is going to be approaching its future with some years reduced from their rightful years for basic education. Basic education is a full 12 years. So if we don't save the year of 2020, we're saying we have a generation that is going to have one hand less and think that they have to compete with all other generations that came before them and generations that will come after COVID-19. So it's critical for us as South Africans to make sure that we do whatever it takes to give this generation what rightfully belongs to them, the minimum of 12 years of schooling, without them going into the future with half of what they deserved as 12 years. So it's very critical, because it's not only for now, it's just for the whole generation for years to come. Experts tell us, Max Week, that if we don't do anything radical now, the impacts of COVID-19 will be felt for more than 10 years as we proceed. So it's very important that we do whatever it takes to save what we can and be able to compensate for the losses that we have. So I don't want to take your time. I think we'll speak about your model. And I did say, in the context of COVID-19 and its depression and just its demoralization, the model that you use is just helpful for our kids, because the COVID-19 has not only taken away time from us, but it's also taken our souls, our happiness, and everything else. And for me, for these kids to be able to go out of their homes into a cinema plays a bigger role than it usually plays, because it then it becomes one of the psychosocial support that our kids need. You should see them when they go back to school. You can see they miss school, they miss their peers, they just miss being away from home and being able to do something different. So even the model itself can be, as I say, is very helpful to our children. So I say South Africa cannot and must not remain amongst the worst culprits really of the effects of COVID-19, but as South Africans and a strong, resilient nation, let's work together and make sure that we can succeed. So in closing, I really want to acknowledge your sponsors who really are, as they carry you, they carry us. And when I say us as public sector, they are carrying the nation generally, because we're carrying the nation. As public education, we are responsible for 96% of South Africans, which means even your affluent South Africans do believe in public education. So by carrying the Department of Basic Education, we are carrying actually the children of the nation. We're responsible for more than, out of the 14 million learners that are in the system, we're responsible for more than 13 million learners. Your learners in private schools don't even constitute a million. That's why I'm saying supporting public education is to really support the children of this nation. So I really want to thank Sanlam, I want to thank Sasria, I want to thank Omnia, I want to thank Bitvest, WDB, and CELC for supporting the cinema revision, and also for Liberty for sponsoring the online platform. So your sponsorship are showing that that corporate commitment is the future to South Africa. And it's only with the partnership that we get from them through you that we think we'll be able to carry this very daunting challenge of protecting the lives of children, from our belief that education, especially basic education, is an inalienable right to children. And if you can't give them anything else, just give them basic education. I think it would have saved their lives. So Mark, you know I'm very passionate about your program. I can go on and steal all your time in the webinar, but thank you very much for inviting us, and also thank you very much for really giving us an opportunity to engage in this August occasion. But thank you very much, Mark, and thank also to the facilitator for the opportunity. And thank you.
Minister, it's been an honor and a privilege working with you over the years. I think it's our 10th year in our maths and science program. You really are the mother of all learners, and you inspire us. You're a role model and a mentor to us, and working with you has been an absolute pleasure. The passion that we exhibit when we go out to raise funds, I don't think you'd be more passionate with anybody at the helm of education. And I thank you for working with us, giving us the access, and making our programs extremely successful. Thank you, Minister. All the best. And let's hope that we not only save the class of 2020, but we help them thrive in 2020.
Absolutely. Thank you very much,
Thank
Minister.
you very much.
We appreciate
very much.
it. And I actually would like to segue that notion around partnerships and not being able to do this on our own from government or from the private sector, to actually bring in Nozizwe Vundla from Sanlam. I know, Nozizwe, that you've got a big passion for public education. I know you've got a big passion for investing in social good. That is why you are at the foundation. And we really want to find out from your perspective, following on what the minister has said, what is Sanlam's position on, participating in these public-private partnerships? And of course, why you decided to spearhead, along with Prime Stars, this big challenge of saving the class of 2020.
Thank you so much, Nkosinathi. Thank you very much for the warm welcome. I'd like to say hello to everyone who's participating, to you, to Martin, to the minister, and to Robert, who represents a very important stakeholder, being South African teachers. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak today about saving the class of 2020. We at the Sanlam Foundation are extremely passionate, as you said, about public education and about enabling and empowering our students, our pupils, as much as possible to get the best possible marks that they can. Our partnership with Prime Stars is primarily in the area of math and science, as you know, and we are very passionate about, in this year of all years, of all the years to be a matric, as the minister indicated, it's such a difficult year to be in matric this year. Not only have the kids missed out in terms of days in class, on top of that, they've missed out on the social aspects of being in matric. It's meant to be a year where you have your matric dance, where your friendships are so important. So really, our hearts go out to the young people who are in matric this year. But we as Sanlam are determined to help them and to give them as much of a chance to succeed, together with partners like Prime Stars, in terms of working on their maths, working on their science, in the Prime Stars project as they head towards their matric exams. For us as the Sanlam Foundation, we're always looking to make a social impact, and we very carefully choose our partners. And that's why we're with Prime Stars, is because Prime Stars over the years has shown through their track record, the improvement in the maths and science results of the young people. It's especially wonderful for us that we through the sponsorship of Sanlam, the young people that we support, 52.3% of them are young women, and as you said, it's important to note that as we celebrate Women's Month, and we'd like to really encourage other corporates like ourselves, specifically in the financial services industry, because obviously, part of us being involved in this maths and science program is partly a selfish thing, because we, as a financial services firm, as Sanlam, we obviously require the accountants, we require the actuaries, we require the engineers who are going to come in and be members of staff at Sanlam one day. So we'd like to really encourage our peers in the financial services industry and in the insurance industry to really back this initiative. Right now, 20,000 children are covered by the Sanlam sponsorship, but my understanding is that there's a capacity in the cinemas for 60,000 seats. So if we have more sponsorship from our peers, from our other corporates in the industry, we could potentially add on a whole lot more matrics to the program. So I'd like to do my bit to really encourage other corporates to come on board so that we can do as much as we can to support the matrics of 2020 who have really been given a really raw deal. And let's all rally around them. Let's all give them the support, the moral support, as well as the other types of resources that they need to pull through and ultimately to thrive as much as they're able to, given the circumstances. So thank you very much, Nkosinathi. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Nozizwa. I think, the minister said it, you've said it, Martin said it. We really cannot do this on our own. There's a lot of comments coming in on the platform, which I definitely want to come back to later on in the program. But what I want to highlight at this point is just the kind of courage that business has had to come forward in saving the class of 2020. If we're able to give a long shot, you can see behind me just the number of companies who've already committed some sort of support to the program right across the top. And we've got some incredible partners who've come in. And at this stage, I actually would like to just ask our team to play just some of the messages of support we've had. Of course, we are now in COVID-19. We can't have face-to-face events, so we can't all meet face-to-face, but I'd like to play just some videos, messages of support from some of our partners before we come back and have a quick conversation as well with the minister, as well as Mr. Richard Buthelezi, who is one of her biggest supporters. Stay tuned.
Back at this year and not think of it as a failure, but as a year that pushed them to grow and to think outside the box. So Sasria makes a lot of investment in education. We provide bursaries for close to 100 children. We support programs such as SADA, which helps Black children study the actuarial sciences, and Tutuga, which helps similarly for chartered accountants. We are currently building solutions for schools in Mafikeng and 2 schools in the Eastern Cape. We are building a library at a school in Rustenburg. Another program that Sasha has done is together with the Insurance Institute of Gauteng and Gibbs, we started the Insurance Leadership Program, which is aimed at bringing management or leadership skills to Black people in the insurance industry. So government cannot do it alone. We need as many people as we can who want to be part of the solution. I really encourage anyone and anybody, any corporate, to join hands with us as we try to save the class of 2020. We really cannot afford to go backwards.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alan Feynman. I'm the Divisional CEO of Bidvest Services. The question today is around saving the class of 2020 and why have we decided to support this campaign? Well, we've supported Prime Stars and their initiatives to improve education for many years. I think it's probably 10 or 11 years now. Their programs have always been well structured, organized, and the content is such that the scholars can relate to it. The results have matched the organization, and those who participate have done better than their peers. Many of us, especially in my generation, have taken our education for granted. We went to good schools and we could access the university courses we aspire to. The country has changed and we need to change with it. And with that, I believe we have a role to support government in order to improve our education and assisting the matrics in this year. This is a vital year for them. No school year wants or deserves to be forgotten. All our kids want is to complete the year and move forward to the next year. Matrics, however, need a little bit more assistance this year. This pandemic will pass, and so must our matrics. We are here to help you pass, and we will continue to do whatever we are able to do. Recently, you might have seen on the news that Bidvest paid for and sponsored the sanitizing and preparing of schools throughout the country so that our students could return to a safe environment. The 15 million rand investment is in line with our strategy and goals for our country. As Nelson Mandela famously commented, no country can really develop unless its citizens are educated. Let us get other businesses to partner with governments in the fight for a better education for all. I urge all of you, including many of our other Bidvest companies, let's join this fight together. Thank you.
Sonia Group is very focused on youth development through entrepreneurship and education, and consider this to be a very important part of nation building. We strongly believe that if we don't support such initiatives as the ones run by Prime Stars, and more importantly in this current period, the program of Saving the Class of 2020 will really not see us through the difficult periods that we are currently experiencing. If we want to make sure that the country grows and has good opportunities for the future, the youth are critical in this, and we need to ensure that we support projects such as this, which will enable them to capacitate themselves to become valuable members of society as we go forward. In Saving the Class of 2020, we are very proud that we can support this project and will continue to try and assist such projects going into the future. As a country, it's a challenge to solve the growth issue that we're currently facing, and without education, without entrepreneurship, and without the youth, we will never solve this problem. As a corporate citizen, we are also very concerned about the state of the nation in terms of COVID impacts, and we have been trying very hard to assist in the communities that we work in and that we are currently operating in. And as such, we have partnered with various organizations to provide communities with food parcels, to assist them with sanitizer and appropriate PPE to assist them during this difficult period. What we have also done is seconded our technical expert into a very important project for the development of ventilators. So a specialist has been seconded to the National Ventilator Project. And this points very much to the importance of STEM and science and technology in the future. We need to be able to capacitate people to be able to solve today's problems with technology. Another important aspect that we have tried to focus on is the blood shortage that is currently being experienced worldwide. And all our employees have been challenged to participate in a focused blood drive over the next few months. This would help to address this current blood shortage that is being experienced. I would like to challenge all the corporates in our space to meet these kind of challenges with sponsorship and with actual action, and do what they can to the best of their ability to save the class of 2020. This is critical for our future. Thank you.
As SALC, we felt that it was critical for us to support such an initiative. With the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen the devastating impact this has had on our economy, and particularly the education system. That pandemic has really highlighted the inequalities that persist in the South African society. Children in underprivileged communities and public schools have been worst impacted. When Prime Stars, which is an organization that has a long-standing history with SALC, approached us with the Saving the Class of 2020 initiative, we immediately jumped on board. Their commitment to youth empowerment resonates with us. The endorsement from the Department of Education is testimony to the impact that Prime Stars is making. The initiative falls in line with SALC's transformation and socio-economic development strategies. As a proudly South African company, we are committed to making a positive change in our country by empowering our youth through skills development, education, employment creation, and digital inclusion initiatives. Maths and science are critical subjects which are required for the future skills requirements of this country and globally. SALSI is committed to changing our youth's lives by empowering them through many of our initiatives like the Take a Girl Child to Work Day, the SALSI Girl Bursary Fund, the Data Science Academy, and many others. We see the Saving the Class of 2020 as an extension of our commitment to empowering our youth and ensuring sustainable transformation. We call on other corporates to follow suit and do the same and support this impactful initiative.
For us at WDB Investment Holdings, empowering the youth through education is very close to our hearts. It's part of our mandate as an organization, why we exist. We understand very well that to move our young people from one point to the next, education is one of those tools that will give them a chance at achieving that. And we do this through a number of programs that we run. We have multiple bursary scholarship programs. We've got an internship program, and these programs have been very successful. And also, our relationship with Prime Stars is a long-standing relationship. We've been with them for a couple of years now and supporting them through also their youth empowerment programs because we share the same mandate. So when we received this call to support this Educate program, there's really a program of saving the class of 2020 matriculants to ensure that they get a chance at passing their matric exams and making sure that Prime Stars would be in a position to run maths and science extra classes to ensure that they really stand a chance of doing well at the end of the year. For us, when we received this call, it was a no-brainer because this is something that's very close to our hearts. So we responded with Investment Holdings is to really encourage other corporates to be part of the solution. We understand very well that our country is facing many challenges in terms of this COVID-19 pandemic, but we want to encourage corporates to say, can we make sure that our young people don't pay the price of this pandemic in terms of them not accessing education? Because that, I think, as a nation, that is something that we wouldn't be proud of. Thank you.
Afternoon, everybody, and thanks to the Prime Stars team for inviting Stakeholder to share our thoughts and brief message of support from our side. We've got a long history with Prime Stars of well more than a decade now, supporting the idea that cinemas can be theatres of learning to supplement and support the curricula that many underprivileged students get in their schooling environment, that we can use our spaces together with our friends at Prime Stars to help augment and develop further the matric maths and science program. You know, in a normal year, we probably welcome more than 100,000 kids to our space for this purpose, and it's been an unbelievable privilege as a business to be partnered with such a dynamic team as Prime Stars that really go out of their way to make this happen. We're very excited about the idea of cinemas reopening soon, and we've gone to great lengths to ensure that our environments are healthy and safe. We've engaged directly with specialists at the Department of Health to come and audit our environments and help us work out how best to ensure that we do our part as good corporate citizens in keeping the space safe, so that when we welcome learners back in programs like Prime Stars, that the kids can also come with a degree of confidence and certainty in our environments. We look forward to working with Martin and the team, and we think it's really important, given all of the disruption this year, that every business goes out of their way to do what they can to help save the class of 2020. This is a generation that's going to have a shock as they start out in their working career and as they close off in their schooling career. And I think it's really important that we all band together to try and make their way in the world that much easier through all the support that we can offer. So thank you again for allowing us to be part of the program, and we'd love to invite other people to participate as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much for inviting me to make this input. I really apologize that I cannot be there in person or join you online to make this presentation. But congratulations on the 10th anniversary of Educate. And I want to make 3 points just as my input for tonight. The first one is the importance of math and science for learners' future development. Mathematics and science are key. That's how we prepare you for critical thinking and problem solving. And these are the skills of the future. So if you choose mathematics and science, not only do you increase your possibilities in terms of career choice, but you also are getting into a space that will prepare you for the future world where critical thinking and problem solving are basic required skills. So get into mathematics and science so that you're prepared for the future. The second thing that I want to make is, why is it important for business, government, and civil society to support the hashtag saving the class of 2020 campaign? Well, here's the thing. COVID-19 is not the learners' problem. They didn't bring it into being. It happened to them. And so we, as business, civil society, and government, have to make sure that COVID-19 or the year 2020 of the pandemic should not necessarily cripple their future to an extent that they cannot achieve their dreams. We want to save the academic year 2020 so that our learners can continue to have the opportunities despite the pandemic. So this is a big reason to do that. I know that you may be thinking, well, it will not be crippling it. It will just be delaying it. This is the thing. You don't want an 18-year-old to be 19 or 19-year-old to be 20 by the time they finish the trip. We know that they can do that, but ideally, you want them not to be repeating a year simply because the pandemic happened. We want them to be prepared, better prepared for the exam. We don't want them to just be given a matric because it was in the pandemic, and we as business, government, and civil society can assist in that regard. So join us as we hashtag saving the class of 2020 campaign. The third point I want to make is about how programs like Educate empower and encourage young girls to break through the glass ceiling. You know, when you're a young girl in high school, there aren't many people who are doing mathematics. The normal narrative, the mainstream narrative that you hear is that mathematics is not for you. And programs such as Educate expose young girls to the possibility of being a scientist, of being a mathematician, of doing well at high school mathematics and science, so that you open up opportunities for you to be whatever you want in the future. And that is why this program is important. That is why I have supported Educate over the years, because I believe we've got to have multiple approaches to encouraging young women to get into maths and science. And Educate is one of the ways in which we can do that. Thank you very much to Prime Stars for this amazing work. And thank you to all the businesses who support Prime Stars, but also to government for always coming on board and leading in supporting the work that Prime Stars is doing with Educate. Thank you very much.
Incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible. We are so humbled as the Youth Start Foundation and Prime Stars to receive these wonderful messages of support. Thank you to everyone that's watching right now. As you can see, we've got some incredible partners who want to see this work. I've also been seeing a lot of comments and questions coming through, some of which I would like to bring in. And I'd like our speakers just to be on standby before I speak to our beneficiaries, before I speak to the very people who've gone through the program. I think now it's time to get into the crux of what we are here for. Of course, hashtag saving the class of 2020. Now, we are going to jump into the safety of running this kind of program and what kind of preparations have been put in place. I know that's an important question, and I've seen some comments coming up. Of course, some people thinking around, how the schools are going to manage this, how the public schools are going to actually accommodate the program. And Martin will touch on some of the COVID-19 safety regulations they've prepared for, as well as in, of course, the cinema and the model that we've put in from that perspective. Before I jump into that, there's just some comments I'd like to highlight at the moment. The first being from Alan Feynman, who is the CEO of Bidvest Services, who I think said a phrase that I think he should coin, and we're going to work on from now on, which is COVID-19 will pass, but so must our matriculants. I think that's so vital. COVID-19 will pass, but so must our matriculants. It's important that we actually use all the resources we have in these extraordinary times and respond with extraordinary solutions. Minister, I'd like you to just entertain one point that Thabiso has made around. He's asked, because of the limited time we have in the rest of the year, will the curriculum for the matriculants change at all? Or will they be continuing with some accelerated support like the Saving the Class of 2020 program?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Minister. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, if you recall, we had brought them much more earlier. They're not having breaks. They only went for a week's break. We've closed the 3 weeks. So in terms of the number of days that we have lost, we've tried to claw back as much as possible. Exams normally start in October. We're going to start them in December. So which gives us at least some full 2 months to really make up for the 3 months that they had lost. They're having longer hours. So there's nothing that is going to change because their paper is already set on the basis of a full year. So our estimation with our experts, but also with teachers in schools, we are confident that by the time they write exams, we would have tried as much as, we would have not even tried, we would have recovered lost time, and we would have made up for lost hours through longer hours and no breaks for them. So they only take weekends. And when we calculate the days, we think we would have really compensated for the lost time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Yeah, I think that clarifies, that should clarify for Thabiso. Good question there around how we're going to manage the time period, and maybe just to touch on how our program as well will assist in that perspective. Is the Math and Science program is a 10-week intervention. It is kicking off in September, specifically focused on matric learners. So we're focusing on getting them prepared for their final examinations, focusing in math and science. We know the challenges they face in preparing for these finals, and the content has actually been created in a format that is relatable and helping them in applying themselves from that perspective. So the program itself covers the entire support for the learners, the curriculum, the resources they need in terms of textbooks, past papers. We've got support from the department and districts, both provincial and local, to get access to the kind of schools that need the support. There was a point that was raised by Lillian from Student Sponsorship, who asked a good question, which is around whether the program will be able to reach the learners who are most in need. Now, as Martin mentioned earlier, he's been running the program for about 10 years with different partners. And in this time, we've managed to access areas that need the most support, which are the lower quintile schools. And the idea is to give those that don't have access to resources the kind of access they need provided by our partners to be able to excel in their final marks. As Martin mentioned, last year we won the Stars of Africa Award from AmCham, and that's based on the fact that participating schools in our program have a minimum average increase of 10% year on year. We've, of course, got shooting stars that are excelling at about over 18% year on year, but we do impact assessments in terms of the rollout of the program. If I can bring in just one comment, maybe I'd like you to touch on Nozi's, but before I bring in Mr. Richard, who has been a VIP guest waiting to come on. From your perspective, there's been a couple of points. One raised around, the need to support the full school infrastructure, so the learner, the teacher, and I assume that through our program, because we've got teachers and learners participating, that's an interest for you. But in terms of strategic interventions to support the department, there was a question around Sanlam's position. And of course, I'm sure you represent the private sector as a whole, just in terms of that skills pipeline and the skills value chain investing leading into job creation. So just from your perspective as a corporate, investing in education is quite critical, and that strategic output is quite important. So in this kind of program with math and science, for you long term, what do you see and what would you like to achieve?
So as I indicated, Nkosinathi, for us, it's a no-brainer to support specifically STEM subjects, because that's ultimately the professionals who will come into careers at Sanlam. However, the minister touched briefly on the National Development Program, and so for South Africa as a whole to develop, going forward as a country, skills in maths and science and STEM in general are absolutely crucial. In the fourth industrial revolution and basically, youth, employment creation, all of those factors, maths and science and education is absolutely crucial. So yes, it's strategic for us as a Sanlam Foundation, but it's strategic, for the entire private sector and for, the country as a whole, if we are to develop beyond, where we are as a country.
Absolutely. Now, Ruth, Mr. Buthelezi, I'd like to bring you in here just before I chat to Martin about the actual safety in the cinemas. From your perspective as one of our leaders in human capital development, and that is being a teacher and an HOD in math and science, can you give us some background on the impact the program has had in your school? Why you actually decided to participate for the last 9 years? This is going to be your 10th. And from a teacher's perspective, why you feel this program actually helps in the kind of public schools we're looking to work in? Oh, you're on mute, Mr. Buthelezi. Can I try again?
Hello?
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay. Now, thank you very much for this opportunity. This program has proven to be a very good program for my school. Basically, if I could just narrate to you the pass percentage in the past 6 years, it will indicate to you. In 2014, I had 52% pass in maths. 2015, it dropped and I got 48%. 2016, it jumped to 55. 2017, 64. 2018, 73. Then 2019, 71. This would not have been obtained if it was not through the support we were getting from the Educate program. What I liked the most about the program was that, the venue where it takes place, it makes life very, conducive for learners, because in most cases, when you talk about the cinema, that's where you watch your entertainment. But unfortunately, or this time, it's not for movies or whatever. That is where they learn mathematics. And the presenters are so excellent. Presenters are so excellent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And tell me, Thank you for those stats. I know you've been part of the program for quite a number of years. And the cinema model, as you say, is one that really takes them out of their communities. In terms of, the teachers that are also participating in the program, what's the value you've seen for them that come into the program with their learners and coming out of it, even for yourself?
The value is huge, Nkosi, because I will tell you what I would do when it's time for maths. I normally carry my laptop, my tablet, and whenever they are presenting mathematics, I would take some pictures of what they are saying. And methodology is what what impressed me a lot, because their presentation was different. And when I get back to my school, we would talk about it. And I think same thing goes to science. I had a chat with the science teacher from my school here, and she was saying exactly that what is good is that when they teach, they also refer to the mark allocation. So learners are getting good skills of how to approach a question in different views.
Well, Mr. Mthelezi, I'll do this on your behalf and tell the minister that you're one of the best performing teachers in the country, and that you are open to grow your experience and your opportunities. So I'm giving you a quick elevator pitch to let the minister know that you are doing well and that she can look into Tisani High School in Richards Bay. You're doing some great work there. Just in terms of methodology, I really want to touch on that because you mentioned it. Methodology of implementing the project, Martin. That's quite an important element. In terms of safety in the cinema and transporting the learners, what kind of measures have been put in place?
Well, Nkosi, as you know, we pick up the learners from their schools on a Sunday morning. The buses arrive at the schools. We've been doing this for the past 12, 13 years in all our programs. What's amazing is we've never lost a child. Thank God we've never had an incident. And the kids arrive safely, and they've been doing extremely well by arriving on time. Usually we put 120 learners to 250 learners in a cinema. These days, because of social distancing, we can only put 50 learners in a cinema. The buses, we normally put 60 learners in a bus. These days, we can only put 23 maximum learners in a bus, because all these learners have to be socially distanced. When they arrive at the cinemas, you may have heard the regulations, 50 learners per cinema. In the past, we used to put 150 to 300 learners in the cinema. So all of that is going to incur extra costs, and that's why we appeal to the private sector to save the class of 2020. When the kids arrive in the cinema, little Mary sits in row A1. Little Johnny then will sit in row A4. We'll miss row B. And in row C, the Mary will sit in row 3C3. So all around the learners, there'll be the required social distancing. The learners, when they arrive at the cinemas, will receive PPE, masks and sanitizers, supplied by the sponsors. They'll actually receive them when they get on the buses. So we are quite confident that we will ensure the safety of learners who attend the program. In the cinemas, there's sanitizing taking place through the air conditioning, and we have no doubt that learners will be safe. I just want to touch on two quick questions that were asked that I saw coming through. The one is that, yes, we are national. We are in every province in South Africa. So our cinemas in Port Elizabeth will be Bay West. Our cinema in Cape Town will be Cavendish, Durban, Musgrave, and Gateways, and in Klerksdorp and Maletsani Mall. In Limpopo, Mall of the North. So quite frankly, we are catering for the whole country. But the more funding we get, the more learners we can include. Ster-Kinekor and other cinema groupings can host hundreds of learners. So the more money we get, the more learners we can get. And the last question I want to try and answer is, what are we doing with upskilling learners for the fourth industrial revolution? Well, one of our programs, the Minister mentioned my favorite, is the entrepreneurship program. It deals with innovation, new skills like critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, and all those elements are important elements in focusing on the fourth industrial revolution. And that's what we're trying to impart to the learners who attend our different programs. Thanks.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you. And everyone, I'd just like to encourage you to continue sending in your questions and comments. We, of course, don't have the time to answer them all due to time constraints, but we do want to have them so we can respond to everyone in due time. We want to bring in more partners, and we want you all to be comfortable in terms of your queries and how the program is going to be rolled out. Like Martin mentioned, the big goal today is not only to make you aware of the campaign, but to invite you to join us. Why not you, and why not now? Whether you're at home, whether you're in business, whether you want to join as an independent or on behalf of a business or a department, please do come on board. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we are looking to support 40 more schools at 50,000 Rand per school. We're happy to take on your questions, and we will be setting up time with those of you that have asked to meet. Of course, after this, the Mail and Guardian will be sending out a summary of the video and the contact details. And as we head towards the close, we are going to share some very, very, very exciting news before we close the webinar. We'd like to acknowledge just some of our other partners before doing so and before letting you get on about your day. But please do stay with us through the videos. We've got an exciting announcement right at the end of this.
As Deputy, showing commitment to society and humanity through our CSI is very important. We take pride in supporting education, as we believe it is the key to opening doors for financial and economic inclusion. We believe during this pandemic, the education system has taken a strain, and we want to support where it matters. As two of our leadership principles are doing what matters and act with humanity. Adopting to the digital way of doing work and learning is key, as we've seen what research shows us about digital ways of learning and what the pandemic has forced us to do. It is important to be current and prepare for the future. This is why we believe saving the class of 2020 and making sure we support in enabling education for our learners is available in an online platform. I would like to challenge other companies that it is time to adapt to the current crisis. Society needs us to rally behind our government and do what matters. Let's support the digital platforms and make sure that we save the class of 2020. Thank you.
COVID-19 has affected our learners, and the initiative, which is saving the class of 2020, is aimed at providing these learners with an opportunity to catch up on the lessons that they have lost. So as the Gauteng Film Commission, we are proud to be partners with the Saving the Class of 2020 because it will enable them to catch up on the lessons that they have learned. One of the things as the custodians of film is that we know that film plays a major role in educating our young people. So this would then be achieved greatly because they would use film whilst they are learning. So it would be easy for them to catch up on the lessons. And also what we have done as the Gauteng Film Commission is that we have partnered with various institutions, the Film Publications Board, where during the Youth Month, we worked with them around showcasing content produced by young people. And most of the content was from their own budget. And we also ran lectures, online lectures for the youth who are also deprived of going to classes to learn. So in this instance, as the Gauteng Film Commission, we call upon all other institutions, organizations, private sector, and even government to support this initiative, as it is aimed at providing the gap and also giving our youth hope in this difficult time.
Honorable Minister Angie Motshekga Realocha, MEC Panyaza Lisufi, all teachers and educators across the country, sponsors, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and a privilege for me to represent the Discovery Group at this auspicious occasion. Discovery supports the Class of 2020 campaign. We have over 28 years built a composite business in financial services, in investments, and now recently in banking, pivoting around a single purpose of making people healthier, enhancing and protecting their lives. We're also a learning organization. Since 2006, the Discovery Foundation has invested in excess of 200 million rand and has trained to date in excess of 400 plus specialists and institutions to plow much needed skills and resources in public healthcare. To corporate South Africa, education must be demanded, not supplied. This is a call to all of you to not only support this amazing initiative, but to also forecast the skills that will be required to rebuild our country, particularly post-COVID-19. From as early as grade R, corporates should be ready to tell, to teach, and to train the future workforce. Do support Prime Stars as they continue to invest in students who wish to pursue STEM careers. To the matric class of 2020, or should I say, the grade R class of 2007, you have to be the bravest class of all time, navigating your final schooling years during COVID-19. Most of you were accompanied to school back then, kicking and screaming, but it was your parents' vision and their purpose for you, plus your determination, that got you this far. The time is now for you to start creating your own purpose for your lives going forward. Everything in life is about sacrifice. When it rains, clouds are sacrificed. For a child to be born, there is a sacrifice of 9 months. For an investment to reach full maturity, patience and time are sacrificed. This young lady addressing you this morning also happens to be a mother of 4 children. I hail from the dusty streets of Garankuwa, and today I head up integrated marketing communication at Discovery. If I could do it, so can you. From Discovery, we wish you the very best in the upcoming matric exams.
Hello folks, my name is Jacques Duplessis. I work for the University of the Witwatersrand in the Maths Education Department. For the past 10 to 12 years, I've been involved in the Educate program that is run by Prime Stars. It is an initiative that is designed to help learners make that final bit of revision, do the final bit of revision, and work through past papers before they write their prelim examination. Now, as we know, 2020 has been a totally different year, totally unplanned, and we have to save the class of 2020. This is what Educate has been designed to do. Through the years, we've had feedback from headmasters, from HODs, from maths teachers, and from the learners themselves, telling us how well the program has helped them do in mathematics and in science. Every year, we get a barrage of emails and letters from learners to thank us for the opportunity of taking part in the Educate program. Now, I believe that this program is designed to help the students, and especially in the situation that we found ourselves in today. Academically, the program is based on the CAPS curriculum. It's totally CAPS aligned. And it's also based on doing revision in the same format that what the exam paper does. So where questions are clustered together in an exam paper situation, we have clustered them together in the videos. So not only does it help them do revision, but it also models the papers and the format of the matric paper that they are about to write. So I don't believe there is another program that is better designed and better aligned to do exactly what we want it to do in 2020. So please, folks, if you can, support this program with everything that you have to give to support us. We really need this program to run this year. And as I said, I believe this program is the only program that can do what we say it does. It's been shown to do that in the past 11, 12 years. It will show that it will do exactly the same, if not better, for the class of 2020.
Education is a key priority for every child in South Africa and in the world. Schools in South Africa were slammed shut during COVID-19 to protect ourselves against novel coronavirus. The closure of schools risks the scarring of lives and chances of the new generation of youngsters to complete Matric 2020. At Risk Insights, we find education is paramount. We are committed to the development of young maths and science graduates. Currently, we employ more than 7 young Black data scientists who have been helping Risk Insights to lead the country into the 4th Industrial Revolution. These scientists have developed South Africa's first machine learning artificial intelligence ESG model. We strongly support maths and science and recommend and encourage corporate South Africa to join the journey with Prime Stars and Youth Start to support this wonderful initiative by these companies. Thank you.
There is no doubt that COVID-19 has had a negative impact on society as a whole, including the education of our children. Some were affected more than the others. The children from under-sourced communities were hard hit more than the others because of limited resources or even lack of resources such as the internet. This has really affected their ability to continue with their studies. And we know that as a result of the lockdown, schools had to close, and children from the underprivileged communities without resources were not able to continue with their studies. And initiatives like these ones that we are supporting, like Save the 2020 year, has been very instrumental in making sure that education continues. As an organization, education has been our priority when it comes to socioeconomic development. We have always partnered with organizations that were aimed at developing and improving the lives of communities. As an organization, we recognize the fact that when one is educated, or education in general plays a big role in enhancing and improving the lives of people. Therefore, we have supported, even in the past, we have partnered with organizations that aimed at developing communities, and we would like to urge and encourage other companies and organizations to get involved in such initiatives. And we believe that together we can do more. If we come together, we can save the future of our children. Thank you very much.
Welcome back, and thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. What we wanted to share before we ask all our panelists to give their closing remarks, and Martin closes off this first of our Saving the Class of 2020 webinars, was to share with you that for the first time in 15 years, we will be able to share our content online to some of our schools that won't be able to access the cinema, but have the resources to get online. We know the limitations that our schools have, hence our drive to get more of you to join us, to get face-to-face learning in a safe manner, of course, in the schools that need it most. But we are extremely excited about the fact that the content will be able to be provided online this year. And Cell C, who's joined us as a new partner, has 0 rated the content We're extremely excited about this. And as we bring this to a close, I'd like to ask you first, Minister, to give us a few words to say, goodbye and thank you, and any words you'd like to share with us. I'll then like that to be followed by Nozizwe, and then Mr. Buthelezi. And of course, the man right next to me here in the studio will close it off in his style, of course, Mr. Martin Sweek. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Minister, please share your last words with us. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, Nkosi Nathi. I can only express gratitude and appreciation for all the support that you have brought together. It's very encouraging and gives me as a minister, but also I think as a sector, great hope to see the entire nation really mobilized around our children, and the commitment that is coming through. It's really humbling and very encouraging. And I really want to thank yourselves and Martin most sincerely, but the entire team from your organization and the business sector that has come forward. I wish I could really even take some of the messages that have come through to our different schools and get not me, the usual, and not our teachers, even yourselves, just speaking to the children of the nation. So I'm really looking forward to receiving the videos, and we'll play them around when we go around in schools to motivate and support children. But I really want to express my most sincere gratitude and appreciation to all the team and all your sponsors. Thank you very much, Nkosi Nathi, and thank you very much, Martin, and your team and all the other presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Nozizwe.
So thank you once again, Nkosi Nathi, Martin, the entire Prime Stars team. I'd just like to end off by encouraging all the learners who are in matric this year, please register to Prime Stars and either attend the cinema classes or else online. And I'd also like to encourage, finally, once again, all the corporates, please, the more funding is available, the more young people we can have on this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nozizwe. Thank you so, so much. Mr. B? You're on mute, sir. You're on mute.
Loud now.
Yeah.
There we go.
Am I there now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks to the minister, and thanks to everybody for the support that you guys are showing us. When you are in the teaching fraternity, you think you are alone, and when you hear these wise words, they make you excited and know that you are not alone. But I just wanted to say one thing, just a little comment, if possible. What I've observed in the past is that when we go for these revision programs, you find that at times they don't tie up with the tests, that are being run by districts. And you would find that maybe attendance is not what you expect. So where possible, I would love to put, this idea forward that there need to be, some partnership and some understanding within the district, so that when they are writing science, learners will not want to learn mathematics because they must prepare for science. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Richard. Partnerships are definitely important. All the content that we run obviously comes informed and directed by National Ministry, and that is how we conduct the program. But I think it's always fantastic to bring in new players who can also give us a reading of what's happening on the ground. We are very flexible, and we appreciate teachers like yourselves across the country who take such an interest in our program, and that's how we're actually going to continue improving it. But we'll make sure that as we get the updates from the department, we'll share with you as well. Mr. Sweet, close us off.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard that the need is real, the challenge is great, but we all know that through strengthening the investment in education and by forging the partnerships that you've seen today, we all can play a part in creating opportunities for sustainable change in the education space. And in so doing, build a more prosperous and, very importantly, inclusive future for the generations of tomorrow. Minister Macheka, I think the amount of sponsors that you've seen and the new sponsors that we're hoping for before September is also a compliment to yourself. When we go out and we ask for money for the learners, I don't think if we didn't have a committed and wonderful minister like yourself, who sticks to her guns, who's made sure that learners go back to school, I don't think we'd have the sponsors that we've had today. So I'd like to conclude by asking the rest of the country, please join us in saving the class of 2020. We have more capacity, we have a phenomenal program, and we need your help. Thank you so much to those who've already become part of it and those who are assisting us to reach the thousands of children that we intend to reach this year. Let's save the class of 2020. God bless you, be well, keep safe, and thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Let's keep the conversation going. Hashtag saving the class of 2020. Do get in touch with us. We will be sharing the video for the event. Stay well, stay safe. And as Martin said, join us in saving the class of 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Thank you to the Mail and Guardian. And thank you to Eventcast for putting us in this phenomenal studio. Go well.